Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it is your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show! Zach, you were a little early.
I was really excited.
I'll have some announcements for you in a second, but first, I think it would be great if our players could introduce themselves, so I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm Nick. I play Thaddeus, the Human Inventions Paladin.
I'm Kay. I play Harmony, who is the Tiefling Wild Magic Sorcerer.
I'm Melissa, and I play Mara, who is a human rogue pirate. Why do you keep looking at me like that?
I'm Zach, and I play Hunters, a Warforged Fighter Ranger.
So we stream, here's those announcements I talked about. We stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and then post our episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items, as well as a custom wild magic table, so be aware of that as you're watching. Our music comes from BattleBards, TabletopAudio, and Incompetech. And our character portraits, which you can see in the top right corner on the stat cards, come from an artist by the name of Carrie Peach, who is at Carrie Draws on Twitter. And if you're watching us on Twitch, you can check the channel page for links and info, everything I just mentioned, and more. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check the video description for a similar deluge of information. Other than that, you can follow us on Twitter at Antiheroes and we'll post fun little tweets about what each character does each week. We'll post when we're skipping weeks, things like that. Other than that, we hope you enjoy the show, and we'll get straight into a recap, which I foolishly didn't read in advance. Let's see. The party went with their friends Dawn and Eli to the city of Ravenmoor, where their entire journey began, and in an attempt to save their other friend, Mandus, from the vampire Alkene. Whilst there, they protected some refugees, found the Raven Queen's memories, and fought the Medusa Queen Ixlati. It was an eventful time. Somewhere in the midst of all of that, the Mind Flayer Warforged Kuor, a longtime nemesis of the parties, and most particularly Thaddeus's, took Ravenmoor and captured Dawn, who was at the time working on escaping with the help of her friends. Meanwhile, the party made their way to Alkene's castle, where they managed to free Mandus from being trapped in a dark mirror, a portal to the negative plane of negative energy, after which they engaged an angry Alkene who had arrived to kill them. Once the vampire was vanquished, they explored his castle and found a treasure hoard, as well as a trapped devil, who Harmony, of course, promptly made a deal with in exchange for his freedom.
Of course.
Then they made their way via the teleport spell back to the Drowning Kiss, back on Kamekame Island, with their friend Kameko, where they discovered the Drowning Kiss was not where they left it, but in fact perched atop the volcano in the center of the island, and they had to make a slide down the slime-covered slopes, all the while being chased by a powerful demon, Goristro. Can't compete with that. Dog's being cute.
He's growing.
Yeah, and so that's where we left off. The group of you putting Kamekame Island and its slime-covered entirety behind you as you sail off into the water, surrounding the Drowning Kiss, and generally towards the east with an objective in mind. So I will now turn it over to you. You guys are going to have probably a week to 2 weeks at sea. So you've got plenty of time to work on things. So we'll just sort of go around and figure out who's doing what, and we'll play it out. So who wants to start?
Well, I'm sure the ship's gonna need repairs, so I'll get my carpenter's tools out and start repairing the ship.
After you get a little ways out into the water. When you get down to sort of check out how much damage was done, you realize pretty quickly that the ship will still sail just fine with the damage it sustained. And if you want to make repairs to it, it's probably going to be happening during a time when you're not captaining the ship, so it's going to be like stopped in the water. So you can do that now, or you can sort of make it a little ways and like save it for nighttime when the ship can't really move it forward
That's a good
anyways.
idea. If it's not serious. I thought we were and wormholes and things.
No, you after a quick inspection, you see that there aren't really any holes that made it through the ship entirely. You sort of have to lean over the edge and look to the exterior of the ship to find too much damage, and that's where you see places where the acid from the slime melted into the hull of the ship, or a few rocks or things that you ran over damaged some of the boards, but they're all, I mean, the boat is durable. It was a Stormwind creation, so it's a well-made boat, and it will sail just fine with the amount of damage
The
it took.
hole has no holes.
The hell is cool. The hole is the hole.
Well, I have quite a few projects
Go ahead then.
that I'd like to work on. Well, I have 2 successes on this fancy hat that I'm trying to put disguise
Right.
magic into. So I'm going to finish that
Okay.
first.
We'll go ahead and roll your Arcana check with Charisma.
Arcana with charisma, so plus 10. 27.
27. Okay. Yeah. Especially over sort of the first few days of the trip, as you get going into the sea, you have to spend quite a bit of your time actually rowing the boat. Like, there's not enough crew for you to not row the boat in times when you don't have a full wind at your back and things like that. But in the times when you do have a good wind carrying the ship forward and there's no need for rowing, you manage to slip in hours here and there and slowly enchant the spell into the hat. And after maybe the first 3 or 4 days, you feel like the magic has taken. And when you sort of inspect the hat using maybe the wand of detect magic, it radiates a steady glow of magic.
Cool.
So what that will let you do is once per day, it can disguise self on someone who wears it.
Okay, so I'm going to, when I'm finished, I'll bring it to Hunter.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna make me smile. You know?
Probably not,
Okay.
but you should probably test it. It might make you float.
Alright, let's try it.
This was the really, really fancy hat
Yes,
with like the
it's like the
feather.
really like wide brim. And
Yeah.
So I'm like holding it like
It's gorgeous.
So, I'll put it on. And then can I just cast the spell?
Yeah, with all the same restrictions of the spell that the spell normally has, but you can now cast it once per day when it's on. your
Okay.
head.
So I would turn into let's see. What did I turn into here?
The look on Kay's face right now, just waiting for you
Yeah.
to decide.
So you can add that to your inventory.
Okay.
The disguise self hat.
Yeah.
We'll call it the hat of disguises. So original. Oh.
I'm surprised you made me to say Barton.
I was thinking about Barton.
It's like your go-to disguise.
Yeah, I know. I'll yeah.
I mean, Hunter can sort of like sit down and think about who he wants to.
Yeah, I
first
think he's
disguise.
like, you know, he's like.
I'll like explain to you how I think it should work, so that you can have time
He's
to like.
wearing this, so he has like the paper hat, and then right on the top of it, he has, or around it, he has the fancy hat.
I mean, this will sit like completely on top of
Yes.
the paper hat, so that paper hat will be inside it,
Yes.
sort of
How did you
forming.
not lose the paper hat and are like
Epic, like
break
slide
that
down the
screen
middle.
down the slide?
That's a
Sovereign
good
blue.
point.
Stuff.
Did you
No,
actually?
no. That's not the first use of the sovereign blue.
Okay, cool.
So the second thing I'd like to work on. I'm not sure if I don't remember what the rules for enchanting were. If it was a spell that I had to know how to cast,
It's
or
not necessarily.
But
if
I've
you
seen
want
someone
to,
cast it.
If you want to replicate a spell effect that you can't cast, then it will be harder.
Okay. I bought the ballet slippers,
Right?
and I'd like to try and enchant them so that the wearer gets faster.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you're trying
Like
to...
I've seen Thaddeus.
Like
do
you've
with
seen
that.
Thaddeus do.
Ballet slippers. Okay.
Are you going to sort of are you going to talk to Thaddeus at all about how he casts this
Yeah,
spell,
I
things
think
like that?
before I start, without telling him what I'm using it for or why I want to know, just say, so, you know how sometimes you say a prayer and you can move like super fast?
Mm-hmm.
How,
One of
do
my
you-
most useful boons.
how does that work exactly?
I don't know how magic works.
Well, no, like, not how,
The gods provide me with mine.
okay, but like, when you get that boon, what happens to you physically? Tell me everything.
Well, I feel a surge of energy, I guess you would call it. Just flows throughout every muscle in my body. And it seems like time for me almost slows down. And I can deal with things much faster than I normally can. I can attack more times before my enemy can react. I can cover more distance. I can dodge more easily out of the way of my foe's blows. I don't know. This is all things you've seen me do.
Yeah, but it's different when you see it versus when you feel it.
Do you want me to cast it on you so you can feel it?
Yes.
All right.
Then she can enchant me faster.
So yeah, Harmony, when Thaddeus recites his prayer, and you feel this effect take hold, it is, I mean, exactly the effect of being on far too much coffee. You are like jittery. You feel as if your body is almost vibrating.
Like, for that whole minute or however long, I'm just running circles around the ship.
Ship.
This is so amazing!
And then
Like that scene in Tangled where Rapunzel comes down and she's like
Oh, yeah.
swinging around the
Swinging around
tree.
the
That's basically Harmony. Just like, this is so amazing!
and then it wears off.
And then it
Thaddeus
wears
is
off.
like-
She just slumps and she's like,
and you've seen this too,
Yeah.
of course, as well.
oh my,
The downside.
how do you go on after that?
Yeah, after like the 6 seconds of utter lethargy where you like can barely even talk, you go to move your foot and it just feels slow. Even though like you're moving regular speed, it's slow.
My life is never gonna be the same. Thanks, Daddy. That was enlightening.
Of course.
And then I'll go and I'll try to cast or enchant the ballet shoes with that spell.
With sort of that feeling
With
in
that,
mind,
yeah.
you can make your first attempt at advantage, but it's a high DC since it's a spell effect you don't
Okay.
really know.
And this is still with charisma.
Mm-hmm.
24.
24. As you're attempting to channel the magic into it, like the ballet slippers themselves don't necessarily have anything to them that would make them very conductive of magic, and you're really like you find yourself leaning back on the innate side of your magic as opposed to the practiced logical side, which Ciel was trying to teach you, which is what's more used in enchanting. And so the magic that you're channeling, as you're trying to channel that same feeling, doesn't seem to take as well as you'd hope. So it's, yeah, you don't yet have a success.
Okay.
But around this fourth day, sort of as it gets on towards the evening, you feel an effect in your brain that you recognize as a sending spell, and you recognize its caster immediately to be Ciel. And there's a brief pause after you feel like the spell take hold in your brain, and you're waiting for the message to convey. And you're wondering sort of like if there's actually, like it's long enough that you wonder if there's actually going to be some words that follow. And then finally, you hear Ciel's voice in the back of your brain. And they say, Harmony, this is something that's very hard for me to do. But I think I'd like to talk. Are you going to be in a specific place for a certain amount of time? If so, I'll try to come to you.
Middle of ocean. For a long time.
British ship ever.
I'll say, I am on a ship called the Drowning Kiss in the middle of the ocean for the next 10 days. But then I'll be in the Elderhaven Reaches.
And there's maybe a few minutes of nothingness after you send that response, and then you feel another sending spell connect with your brain, and you can almost audibly hear Cial's eye roll before they say, "I'll see what I can do." And that's the end of that message.
Cool. So for the remainder of the 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much more I'll get to work on the ballet slippers, but also I'm like using the ruby every night unless someone else needs it, to send a message to Eli. Just be like, we're safe, this is what happened today, kind of thing.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I mean, you get the feeling from him in these like brief 25-word conversation or 50-word total conversations that you can have that he's really busy back in Redwater trying to sort of put the town back together. But also he's finding it really fulfilling because people are relying on him more and more. And you also get the sense that he's exceedingly happy that he's, even over the distance, able to communicate with you in some way.
Long distance relationship.
I have one other project that I'd like to work on, if I have time.
Yeah, you've got time.
So I bought this long scarf,
Mm-hmm.
and for this one I just want to enchant it with invisibility,
Oh, okay, sure.
because that's a spell I know how to use.
Roll your Arcana check then. You're sort of dividing your attention, so
Yeah.
it'll take you maybe a little bit longer to complete these projects, but you've got plenty of time.
I've got lots of time, so I figure if the ballet slippers are getting frustrating, I'll switch projects.
Yeah, and it's like the first few days where you're trying to channel the feeling, and it's a spell you don't know, and you're trying to recall all your lessons with Cial,
Yeah.
but
I'll probably like do that for a few days, and then when it's not really working, I'll like switch to projects, and then I'll go back to Patty and be like, "Can you cast it on me again?"
My magic is a toy.
It's more coffee.
It's not. I promise it's for a good cause.
You haven't had enough coffee until you can grab a sewing machine while it's ready.
Okay, so I'll do the invisibility on the scarf.
Yeah, to picture it. That was delayed.
26.
26.
Oops, I rolled that at advantage, so it just have been normal.
It should have just been normal. Yep.
Okay, I'll roll again. Although it is a spell, I know how to do.
Yeah, so that just means your DC is
28.
Okay, good.
There you go.
Even better.
Yeah, you something about like there's as you begin to like sort of inspect the materials of the scarf and things like that, there are actually like golden threads woven into the scarf that seem to be taking the magic really receptively because of their sort of monetary value and such like that. So that's one success. That seems to be going along rather well. Anyone else have something they want to do?
I have a couple
Mara,
things,
you
but-
do have 2 other passengers on your ship besides the 4 here. You have Kamiko, who for the most part keeps to herself quietly, but you do, like, you find from time to time, you'll look up from the steering wheel and you'll see her just sort of looking at you, and when your eyes make contact, they sort of drop to the side. And you also have a passenger who stays for the most of the time perched on sort of the crossbar of the mast, and that's the brightly colored jungle bird, who you throughout the day frequently hear saying "uh-oh" as you sail across the sea at your leisurely pace.
If I used to speak with animals, can I talk to the bird?
You sure
You
can.
could.
Okay. I'll do that too.
Awesome.
And one of the beautiful things about this game is I had to pick up a personality for this pair.
But you thought of it.
Yeah, and a voice.
I think we
Nick, did you have stuff you wanted to do on the boat?
Did we?
Yeah, you can go
because
first.
Okay.
everyone loves a case
So
right now.
the things I want to do, I want to fletch about 60 arrows.
Okay.
I want to talk to Komiko, Byako, and the bird.
Well, which one do you want to talk to first? Fletching the arrows is no problem.
Yeah.
Especially since you have reduced sleep time. In the hours of the night, when everyone else is resting from their long days of rowing the boat, you have plenty of time to fletch a bunch of arrows.
Okay.
So that's no issue.
So I want to talk to Byako first, and then I want to ask him if there's any, like, I guess I'm trying to think of a project that I can use to help him out. If I can like make some armor for him or something, or like some accessory, or like maybe like attach some sort of attachment or claws or something. Help him out.
When you propose that idea, Byako, who's kind of just sort of curled up next to you while you're fletching arrows,
Yeah.
And you're idly chatting with him as you do, he kind of like lifts his head. It was like resting on his paws.
Mm-hmm.
He lifts his head and says, I confess, I find the idea intriguing, but I wouldn't even begin to know where to start.
Okay. So can I leave it as like an open item and work on it, or like?
I mean, you sort of have to have a direction in mind.
Okay.
And Byako, like, sort of, like, he's seen the things that you have.
Yeah.
With, like, your retractable sword and shield, and your lightning sword, and your jet boots. And he's silent for a little bit before he comes back and says, I don't think I'd like to have heavy metal plates like you wear. That seems restrictive and uncomfortable. But perhaps we could somehow augment my claws.
Okay.
And he sort of like looks at you with like a raised eyebrow, like he doesn't actually know if that's possible.
Yeah, I could try something like that then, if you're okay with it.
I feel as if I could become even more of a fierce warrior, and I like the idea of that. And you can see as he's like thinking about it, his tail is twitching back and forth quite a bit. Like after you, a few more minutes lapse of you like sort of thinking of what you could do with his claws.
Okay.
And after a few minutes, you can tell he's still been thinking about it, and he just says, yes, I like the idea of that.
Alright, let's figure that out then. So, augmented claws. I'm not sure if it would just be like physically what to do, but
That's going to be up to you.
yeah, I'll think about that a little bit. Let's see. We can take turns if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
I jump in with one more thing? I just forgot to mention. For my amulet, I'm going to cast Seeming into the amulet.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I'm switching out the spells that are in there.
No problem.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, sorry, go ahead. You
Sure.
can come back to me later. I haven't decided if I want to do it or not yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do we have time?
No. It's not the time thing. It's like, I was like, oh, I could do this. Do I want to do this? So please go ahead.
Titus is definitely going to spend a lot of time when he doesn't need to row reading that book.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I always forget what that book is called. Like the actual item. So how many, did you write down how many hours you need to read it?
Yes. Let's see.
There it is.
I did write it down. I think it's like
Was it in your
I've got it. So you need to spend 48 hours over a period of 6 days. And you've got plenty of time to accomplish
You
that.
haven't started, hadn't you?
yeah, here it is. I've spent 7 hours already.
As you spend your time reading the book and getting deep into its pages, you find that, like, very naturally, your mental abilities seem to begin expanding, and you start to see logical connections in sort of the puzzles that are presented in the books that you wouldn't have seen before. And by the end of that 48 hours, your intelligence score increases by 2.
Nice.
As does your maximum for that score, but I don't think that would.
I'll never reach that.
But then, as you sort of read the final page and close the book, feeling well enriched for it, you look at the book and you sort of open it up again to leaf through it again a little bit, and its pages are completely blank.
Huh.
Like all the words that were there before are gone.
Oh, wow.
I think I would go and show it to Mara. Say, read this from.
We won't need to read. It's just empty.
Yeah, I mean it's like
So it's not just for me.
it's a beautifully bound book in like a blue leather cover, but you open it up and all the pages are blank.
You can keep it as a nice journal.
Interesting.
For your so interesting life. You should try it.
Write love letters to Dawn.
Or maybe your own romance.
Fan fiction.
I hadn't considered that.
What?
I don't know if I wanted to or not.
Did Moloch ever come back?
Yeah, Moloch went to go
Yeah.
Did
meet
you
up
have
with
the thing?
Radiance.
Yeah.
So we get to hear back from him.
The second of 3 things that I just want to do is to go and talk to Kamiko and try and learn from her just some basic key.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just like basically enough to communicate in a fight.
Okay.
If like something is happening and we need to like coordinate attacks.
Yeah, the teaching would be
Yeah.
hampered by like the language barrier, except for once Hunter conveys what you want to learn, she's able to teach that no problem because it's the fighting words that she learned while she was staying in Redwater.
Oh, okay.
And so over the course of your weeks on the boat, you don't necessarily get like proficiency in the language, but you gain the ability to make like, for one, communicate simple ideas, and for a second thing, like if you hear keen, you could probably make an intelligence check or something like that to try and pick up words and phrases that you might not otherwise have gotten.
Okay.
So.
And I'll let you have it.
Sure.
So I think it would just be like little gloves for him or something.
Okay. Like for his
Wolverine.
paws.
Yeah. And then it would just have
Yeah,
like
he's
a
already
little like
got the
attachment to it that he can utilize. He can kind of grab onto little cat paws and stuff. Maybe use those.
Okay.
Or it was either that or it was something a lot more.
So you want to make long blades that like come off of these
Yeah, I
gloves
think
or
so,
something
like
like that?
Wolverine claws or something.
Okay.
Or I don't know.
Sure. And this would be like, so he has
Maybe they're more potent.
the more important. What damage dice are his claws right now?
They are 1d4.
D4. Okay. Yeah. We'll say that once you complete this, we'll increase that to a 6.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and roll an intelligence Tinker Tools check to draft the blueprints.
Okay. I rolled a 1.
Oh no!
Yeah. The first couple days that you're like trying to puzzle out how to fit a glove on a tiger paw
I like have
in
his
a way that
paw
works.
here, and I'm like playing with his paws.
You've like had him step in ink and step on a piece of paper, so you have a record of it when he's not sitting right next to you. But like trying to work out the logistics of putting a glove on a tiger paw
Yeah.
is not working out for
Yeah.
the first few days.
It's difficult.
Anything left for Mara?
I'm gonna see if I can train the bird.
Okay. What do you want to train it to do? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, since it likes to perch up there, I want to train it to look for land and give us a warning, or like if something is coming ahead, like a ship or.
Okay. So you spend a little bit of time trying to first you have to sort of get to know it. So you have to in your spare time climb up onto the mast and try and approach it a little bit. You'll recall last time you tried to interact with this bird, you tried to put it in a cage and it did not like that. Go ahead and roll an animal handling check.
8.
8. You get to the point where like it will let you approach it, and like using snacks and things like that, like berries and such. You get to a point where like it's okay being around you, but after a few minutes, sort of near you, and maybe perhaps like tentatively sitting on your shoulder a little bit, it will fly off usually and perch elsewhere, usually higher up.
So he'll tolerate my nearness for just a little bit so far. Okay, it's progress.
And so that's like the first couple days, and then you get around to like day 5 or 6 or so, and why don't you go ahead and roll another animal handling check, and we'll see if you can. Oh, 20. Okay. Yeah. Anytime you see a rock or something like that out in the water, you make sure you get the bird's attention. You get it to focus on the rock, and then do you want to teach it a phrase? What do you want it to do when it sees land?
Something I should not know. How about land ho?
Land ho! Yeah, every time you see like a rock or something like that in water, you get the bird's attention, you focus it on that, and then you say the phrase and you treat the bird. And within maybe the next 5 or 6 days, when it starts to see rock formations and things like that in the water, it will start to shout, "Land ho! Land ho! Uh-oh!"
In Mars voice too.
In Mars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's closest
Yeah.
approximation.
Uh-oh.
It's not a kangaroo, it's more like a mimicry tree.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Land ho. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, Leo.
Uh-oh.
Let's see.
Always out.
So I have that orb of transference in my inventory
Word of
from
transference.
Moloch.
Oh, right.
He wanted me to put spells into.
Oh, that.
And so I think, I can't remember if I've put any in there yet,
You haven't.
but I think,
This is the opportunity, huh?
yeah, I think if there are days where I have magic left over, I'll put like
I mean, unless you're using your magic for anything else, you pretty much have.
just for enchanting.
Yeah.
Or playing pranks, probably, when I'm Thaddeus.
But you can do that just using telekinesis, right?
That's true. That's true.
Lift the sailcloth a little bit and like
Yeah.
wrap it around his head.
It wouldn't be anything that obvious. I would try to be super subtle. But anyway, yeah, so I'll probably put like
Gosh, I wonder which of the 5 people in this boat is playing pranks on me.
It's comical.
Yeah.
no, it would be something that looks like it could have been a trick of the wind or something, you know. I wouldn't do it like, oh, there's something floating and it's gonna fall on your head. That's too obvious.
You grab the edges of his cloak with mage hand and sort of like flap it around or something.
Like I'll have it when he's standing somewhere, I'll like stick it somewhere so that when he walks it like tugs on him or something. Like it got caught on something. Anyway,
Make Thaddeus roll a really easy insight check.
Sure.
just sit like that.
Well, it's a 5.
Your cloak gets caught a lot
Yeah.
on this voyage. Like there's nails sticking out that you didn't see before.
And he's gonna
I don't remember this happening on the way to Kamikami Island.
Yeah, it's new. It's weird. Must have to do with the damages?
Yeah, so I'll put maybe 5 levels worth of spells into it over the course of the 2
Let me
weeks.
note that down.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down too.
Need for him to come back all muscular. Thanks for the
Also,
spells,
have I
boss.
heard anything from Moloch?
I think that's actually pretty well into what the last thing Thaddeus wanted to do, which is talk to Harmony about Moloch.
No.
There you go. And the other devil that you don't know.
Well, I
don't know about
that.
I'm gonna do long.
Oh, yeah, you don't know about it either, actually.
That's true.
It's just me and Harmony and Eli. And Manus, but, you know. You wouldn't rat out Harmony.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think he would just, probably after he finished the book, I imagine, would come up to Harmony one time. What would Harmony be doing?
Planning another prank.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, it depends on what time of day if we're done rowing, she's probably.
Maybe like after dinner then.
I expect her to be like right behind you, like, oh, I didn't know you were there. Like, that would make her feel like
It's not constantly. It's just every
Speaking
now
of
and then.
dinner, your dinner, I've been assuming, is mush conjured by Thaddeus.
Well,
Yeah.
we bought stuff. Though.
That's
We
true.
bought supplies.
Well,
Yeah,
and then
that's
Eli
true.
got us.
And
Yeah, you
the
like
townspeople
a bunch
gave
of
us a bunch of stuff,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So
So never mind. You're
We
good.
didn't eat
You've got
very
stuff.
well.
I mean, decently. But yeah, if it's after dinner, then maybe she's like probably like gonna head to go call Eli at the time,
Schedule.
but hasn't started yet or something. Like going out onto the deck.
Yeah, I think he'd join her and say, Harmony, a word?
Sure. What's up? You gonna let me try haste again?
No.
That's so much fun. Could really use it.
For what?
Beat the record.
Research.
Hmm. No, what I wanted to talk to you was I wanted to ask, have you heard from Moloch?
No.
Do you think you're likely to hear from him?
Well,
I mean,
I don't know because
I don't
we
know the bond
sent
between
him-
you and he works.
yeah, neither do I really. But we sent him to go deliver that thing to Radiance,
Mhm.
and I haven't heard from either of them. But it was gonna take some time for him to get to her, I think.
Yep.
Do you think he would be able to reach us? Where
Well,
we're going?
that's the thing. He probably thinks that we're still in Redwater.
You haven't contacted him since?
I mean, not Redwater, Ravenmore. No, we've been kind of busy, but I do have this thing, and I pull out is it a coin?
Mhm.
Yeah, or it's a golden scale. I do have this thing, which I can use to summon him back
Oh.
at any time. So I'm not really too worried about him. Why?
I've been thinking ever since Redwater. Do you remember? I'm sure you do remember. Down in the altar where we met Eli's father. What was the David's name?
Tadriel.
Tajel.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it does seem like a long time ago
Mm.
now. Where we met Tajel.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to thinking ever since we returned to Redwater about Tadriel and how he was a fallen celestial.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it stood to reason that if a celestial could fall, maybe even a being of pure evil, like Moloch, could rise.
Are you saying that this because you are starting to like Moloch and you want a reason to like him?
No, I'm saying it because I think it would be a good thing for you to do, is to try and make that happen, since you have a bond with him.
Maybe. I mean, what am I gonna do? I'm not a good creature. I'm kind of a devil too. Yeah, I noticed.
Well, I say what you can't do, teach.
Is that what they say?
I think it'd be good for both of you, for Moloch and you.
I mean, I don't even know how I do that.
I'll give it some thought, is all.
He's only really sticking with me because of some kind of a agreement.
Right, exactly. He's only doing it for that.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can talk him out of that.
But if you work, and if you try, and if you spend time with him, who's to say?
Does this mean you're not going to kill him on sight?
That is what I'm trying to tell you, yes.
I'd really appreciate that, because I do kind of like the little guy. He could be super helpful. Just in a purely selfish sense. Because he can, turn invisible and sneak into things and do recon.
Have you ever asked him what he wants?
Yeah?
Might be a way to start.
As a player, I'm trying to remember what that conversation was. Something to do with Mother Midnight.
Right, yeah. So he has a vendetta of sorts. A score to settle with Mother Midnight. He told you that
That's right, so he
she
wants me to
wronged
take care
him
of her.
at one point. And so he wants your help in getting back at her.
Yeah.
So try doing something nice for him. Show him what that looks like.
I mean, really all he wants is he wants Mother Midnight dead. or taking care of.
On a long-term basis.
Yeah, but like
From
what?
day to day, there's got to be something that you can do for him to make him feel better.
I don't know what he likes. What do imps like?
But you just told me your relationship with him was mostly selfish, and that you talked to him all the
No,
time.
I didn't say my relationship with him was selfish. I said I like having him around for selfish reasons.
Oh, I see. That is different. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you what to do with him. I just think that it might be an interesting project.
Well,
See
I
if-
could call Radiance tomorrow and see if she got the package. And if she has, then I can use the golden scale to call Moloch back. And let him know that you're not going to kill him. He'll be pleased to hear that, I think.
Alright. It's a good start.
I think it would be nice to have him around once we get to Elder Haven Reaches anyway, so I was going to call him sooner or later, but I was kind of hoping he'd come on it of his own accord.
I'm not sure he could reach us.
I don't want to interrupt his mission to Radiance. That's the thing.
If he had to fly through the, well, I don't know, maybe he's immune to the disease or whatever protects that place.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I can summon him.
Maybe check on the
Yeah. I don't remember how long it was going to take him. How long?
Well, I mean, Ravenmoor is on like one side of the continent, and the city, which the name is escaping me, Rose Harbor, I think, perhaps, where Radiance said she was nearby, sort of by the Hammerlock Baronry, is almost on the other side of the continent. So it was going to
Yeah,
take him
quite
quite a while.
Quite a while. So he probably even hasn't made it to her yet. So, yeah, we'll see. When he, maybe he'll reach out when he's done, or maybe Radiance will reach out when she gets the package, and then we can go from there. But I do appreciate you trying to have an open mind after everything.
Just keep in mind that that is his base state. We do have work to do before he is. We have work to do before I don't want to kill him on his own merits.
I suppose that's fair.
How could we put that?
I think that's it for that. Is
Okay.
Probably around that, like the end of the first week. Hold on just a second. There's a night that comes around where the boat is sailing across the ocean, and the moon comes up in the sky, and the sun goes down, and it gets dark as it has every night. But as soon as the sun is beyond the horizon and darkness is taking, you realize that the drowning kiss is actually, as you sort of like come to a halt for the night from your rowing, you realize that the drowning kiss is actually in the midst of a vast field of something or other. Like you look down into the water, and the water is almost glowing with, at first it's purple, and then after a minute that purplish glow sort of shifts and becomes a bluish glow, and then the bluish glow after a minute shifts and becomes a greenish glow. It's just a slow transition through these colors, and the drowning kiss seems to be sat right in the middle of this field of glowing water.
do we need to bring out the compass? Are we at that point?
You want me to bring the compass out? I was thinking the spyglass. I was like, you're not gonna put the spyglass in the water. Sure we can.
Hey Hunter, is any of that familiar?
The water?
Yeah, whatever's in the water.
The glowy stuff?
You look down at it, it doesn't look familiar at all,
No, I don't know what this is.
but you could roll a nature check.
Does it kind of know what it is?
Kamiko is looking at it with a sense of wonder, and she says to Hunter and Keen, "This is incredible. It's almost like an onibi, but under the water. Onibi being like disembodied spirits of creatures that take the form of balls of light that just drift around graveyards and things like that, casting eerie glows.
Okay. I see what you mean.
And they can come in different colors or other, but the most common one being blue. What was your nature check? 19. You sort of take a minute to look closely at the water, and the longer you look at it and focus on it, the more you realize that it's not the water itself glowing. There's actually like tiny plants. You're in the middle of like a field of tiny ocean plants that are letting off this glowing color, like a bioluminescent algae of sorts.
Do you want me to grab some and bring it up?
Do we want to grab some and bring it up? I guess we can.
I can poke it from here.
Yeah, if you want to. It doesn't look dangerous yet, so.
Unless you think we should leave it alone.
Maybe.
I have a bottle.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to bottle some?
I have my mage hand to go down and bottle some.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you bring it up and it does the same sort of glow, but now that you have it in a bottle and you can actually, for the first minute, the entire bottle glows, but then as the water kind of settles, you see that these plant-like things drift to the top, and sort of only the top centimeter or so of the water is actually glowing, and underneath it's just ocean water.
I shake it.
And then when you're done shaking it, the entire bottle glows again with the same colors, and it sort of is shifting from green into a yellow, and then from yellow into an orange, orange into a red, just sort of slowly through the colors.
I think this is the best idea ever, Mara. Do you want one too? Yeah. Get another bottle of it for Mara.
Kamiko, who's standing next to Hunter, just sort of whispers, or not really whispers, but in her normal quiet voice, says in Keen, "Could I have one?"
Harmony, do one more, please.
I don't have a bottle.
I have 3 bottles.
Yeah,
so I can do all 3 of them.
All right.
One
you,
for Mara,
do you give her
one for me, one for Kamiko.
When you sort of hand it off to her, she like uncertainly takes it from you, and then she looks at it, and she shakes it, and she looks at it again. And in Keen, so you don't understand, but Hunter could probably translate. She says, "I learn more and more that the outside world is a fantastic and mysterious place." And then she gives a very low bow to you, Harmony.
I bow back.
Okay. And then to you, Hunter, she says, "I was put off by your friend at first. She resembles in far too many ways an Oni. I think you'll see what I mean. But I'm coming around." And she smiles a little bit.
You'll learn to like her.
I say to Hunter, "I think she likes me." Rainbow bright.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bottle of algae. You shake it up, and it will, in the dark, cycle through these colors. But it doesn't give off enough light to like illuminate an area. It's almost like I don't know, like a really weak lava lamp or something like that.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
We could probably sell it for a lot of money.
So that is, I can't remember on this thing. Does it work at night or does it?
It works anytime.
Anytime?
You just
Should
fire
we-
off.
should we
Fire
shoot
and
it
arrow,
now?
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've been at sea for a while.
Okay, I'll do that.
You pull back the bowstring, and the arrow of light forms on it again, and you launch it off into the sky, and it shoots to the north and to the east before disappearing from view in that direction. You still have some ways to go.
There you
I'll note it in my captain's log.
go. Captain. Captain with the pretty lava lamp. Captain.
And you can put it in your captain's quarters on the shelf.
Right? and then we sort of fade out on that scene, and then there's still quite a while of sea travel. Does anyone have anything
Yeah, I
else
have
they want
a
to
few
do?
more things. So, I wanted to talk with Kamiko, talk with the bird,
Okay.
and then I was gonna have Mara help me with something. So
Sounds ominous.
yeah, with Kamiko, I kind of wanted to ask her. I see that you keep looking at Mara.
She sort of nods.
Do you, why? You don't. I mean, you don't know each other, do you? But there's a weird resemblance.
That's what I'm trying to puzzle out as well. You're right. We don't know each other. I haven't been in this world per se. From what I can tell by what the rest of you say.
And you called her mother, I think, when you
Yes.
first saw her.
When I first awoke, I thought for a second. I guess the only way I can explain it is there's something familiar to me about her. It's not physical in resemblance, a little bit in the hair maybe. My mother had similar wavy dark hair, but no, it's something about the way that her ki flows. There's a spiritual similarity. I spent many years apparently searching another realm for my mother's spirit. I never found it.
Is that what you were doing? Is you were in another realm when we found you?
Yes, of sorts.
Oh, I see.
Another state of existence, perhaps, is a better way to say it.
I see. Huh. And you never found anything?
I never found her. No. When my mother passed away, before our mission on Kamekame Island was complete, the rest of us, we needed some guidance, and so I thought perhaps we could contact her spirit if I traveled into the realm that the spirits walk. But, as I said, to no avail.
I see. Okay.
And then I awoke after what was apparently thousands of years to see Mara, was it? And the rest of you standing over me, and I was just initially struck by that similarity in her ki.
Interesting.
I have no explanation for it. I've been puzzling it myself.
Okay. So what's the first thing you think we should do when we get back home?
I must say, I don't know.
Okay.
I have apparently not been home for thousands of years.
Well,
And looking at you, things must have changed pretty drastically.
this is not my doing. This was brought upon me, unfortunately.
I don't know what to expect, but I do think that given who you're traveling with, and she looks down at Byako, who kind of looks back up at her with like the big green eyes.
Yeah.
Says, I think perhaps we should seek out the Great Tiger's Sanctuary.
I think it's a good idea.
And hold on, I need to check my notes on something. She says. I think we should seek out the Great Tiger's Sanctuary in his autumnal forest, the forest of Shigamori.
Okay. At some point, I'd also like to find my family over there too. So.
She nods and says, "It's a sentiment I well understand.
Yeah.
If I can be of any amount of service to help you reunite with your family, then I will."
I appreciate that. And then maybe we can even puzzle together more mysteries about your mother's spirit too while we're there.
I think perhaps as I spend more time with you and your group, I will figure something out. I don't know.
Okay.
It is something I spend a great deal of time thinking about. And Mara, this is one of those moments where you catch her eyes as she's having this conversation with Hunter, drifting towards you occasionally, but then looking away as soon as your eyes meet.
Am I close enough to talk to her?
If you want to.
Hey.
If I'm not interrupting.
Hi, Mara.
There's really no way to talk to him without interrupting others anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Hunter,
Yes.
can you ask Kamiko for me that tell her that I understand that she is teaching Thaddeus Keen,
Mm-hmm.
and would I be welcome on those lessons as well?
Sure. Yeah, and so I would tell Kamiko that, and then
I'd like to be able to converse with her.
When Hunter conveys that desire, she looks at you, and you can see her eyes go wide and bright, and she says, in common, "Yes, thank you," and like does a bright nod.
Okay. Hope Dad doesn't mind. Too bad if he does.
I don't think that is mine.
Okay. And actually,
So in the same amount of time, you would be able to spend time with the, Thaddeus and her, and pick up the same sort of things that Thaddeus picked up. Sort of a rudimentary understanding, an ability to speak basic phrases.
Hearing that the other two are taking lessons, I go to Hunter. So I noticed that Thaddeus and Mara are spending a lot of time learning Keen from Kamiko, but why didn't they just ask you? You speak it too.
sure. I don't know.
And I'm gonna
Maybe
ask
they're
him.
just trying to get to know
He's
Kamiko
no
more.
fun. I'm sure Kamiko
I mean,
more
they're acting
interesting.
like you don't speak it, but you've had to translate it for them this whole
Yeah.
time.
Well, I don't mind if they want to get to know Kamiko more.
We
She's gonna be
want-
traveling with us from now, so
We still
it'd be
don't
good to
know.
be familiar with her.
It'll be good for her to learn to comment.
Yeah.
That's
and
that's
to
that's what
interact.
Alex is.
Yeah, to interact with her.
Yeah,
So-
in the same way that you're gaining these proficiencies, like she
Yeah.
is gaining basically the same ability with common.
So
Friendship
instead
level
of
goes up with
asking
Kamiko.
to join those lessons, I'm just gonna, every time I see Hunter, ask him how to say some ridiculous random phrase in Keen. Like, there's a snake in my boot. Or, you have boogers in your nose. That kind of thing. Just stuff
There's
that makes
actually
Hunter
one
go,
keen
oh my
word
god.
for booger.
Yeah.
No, there is.
On a Kuso.
Yep.
Or stuff like, you have a shadow behind you. Just random stuff.
I think some of it I would try and translate directly. The other stuff I might try and make it funny off of Harmony and just be like
Teach
I
me
have
to
something
just,
that's
like,
then be like, I'm really short or something like that instead. So she's sort of like dissing herself just a little bit. It's like as like a little funny thing.
I don't remember any of it.
I have
And that's okay.
I have 3 boots.
What?
like the movie.
There's a private joke here. We're not
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So in the conversation with the three of us, the Kamiko, Mara, and myself, I was gonna also say, hey Mara, while you're here, I was gonna ask for your help on something. I was gonna try and draft a small map for us. And I was wondering if you could help. So you have tools for map drafting, right? If you could help me do that, like I can give you rough ideas, and then we can sort of draft it together.
That sounds like a fun project. You had me worried.
So,
Spend some time drafting a
Yeah.
C chart.
well, a map of the actual reaches,
Oh, okay.
When we actually
you
get
actually get there.
Mhm.
Sure.
just so then everyone has an idea of where things are and stuff like that. So then we're not just like, yeah, it's
So
over.
you're
there.
trying to make one of what you remember of the geography before
Yes.
you get there. Okay,
Yes.
sure. When I
then maybe,
have
like, landmarks and
made
stuff.
a map of it, I will give it to you.
That's fine. Yeah. No, that is. Yeah, I'm not gonna ask right now.
I was
Okay.
going to create a map anyways. So.
Sure. I don't have a bird.
Yeah, make an animal handling check to try and get him to like
Okay.
come to you.
Sure. And I would cast speak with animals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. Well, I
What do
rolled,
you say actually?
I rolled a 2.
It could potentially become a persuasion check or something like that.
Okay. All right. Maybe we won't take that one yet. I would say.
Hunter begins to squawk.
Yeah. I bet. Wow.
Oh,
Hey, you freeloader up there.
he looks he tilts one head so that just the eye is looking down at you from the side, and he goes, "What? Freeloader? This is my ship. I was here first.
I know. I'm just
You're
kidding.
the freeloaders."
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to get your attention.
When you say you're kidding, he goes, "Ha ha ha! I get it. That's funny."
I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, and he says, "Sure, we can talk."
Okay.
I'm surprised that any of you people brains have the ability to talk with someone like me.
I think it's just me, and then I look down at Byakko, and I'm like, maybe he can understand.
Byakko does seem to be following the conversation. Like when he said people brains, Byakko kind of like rolled his eyes.
Yeah. Probably the rat rolls my eyes. Are you going to be traveling with us for a while? We're going to hit land sometime soon.
Yeah, he says, "Yeah, I think so. Things were kind of dull on the island. Just gnolls fighting goblins, goblins fighting gnolls. Boring stuff. You guys are interesting. I'll stick around."
How did the ship get up on that mountain?
Oh, yeah, it was fascinating. Little frog guy came with some big, powerful looking blobs, and they pushed it up, straight up. Best perch on the island.
Okay, I see.
You can see the whole thing.
Oh, all right. And then, has Mara been treating you well, teaching you things and giving you treats?
At that point, he just, even though there's no land in sight, shouts out in common, "Land ahoy!" Or land ho, was it? Land ho!
Mara's like, what? Where?
And yeah, when you're like looking around where Hunter, you hear him in bird language start chuckling, like, and then Mara, you hear it in common. He says, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, you can do that again.
"Uh-oh, uh-oh." Gotta fly, and he like flies up higher onto the crow's nest.
It looks like you're learning okay then.
Yeah, I know who the captain is. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay.
A few more treats, maybe I'll spend some time on her shoulder. She'd like that. I could tell.
Mara, do you want me to say anything to the bird for you?
Ask him if he'd like a fancier bird cage that's bigger so he'd be protected.
I'll ask him that question.
I didn't mean to.
You watch him like visibly fluff his feathers, and he replies, "No cages."
No cages.
Okay, suit yourself.
He's happy. I think where he is.
And you like see him nodding up on the perch. He's doing that bird nod.
The bird nod.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He's okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay.
But he then does say, "If you so choose, you can tell the captain that I'm happy to stay. I'm not going anywhere. You guys are fine.
Okay.
Get into lots of trouble."
I'll tell Mara that he's here to stay.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead, and then I'll tell him. Let me know if you want to say anything to myself or the others, and then I'll.
Sure. I'll come peck your head real hard.
Not that way. Just maybe just perch on my shoulder or something.
He just basically says like, it's not fun.
Okay, well, I don't know. Just get my attention nicely.
And you can see he thinks about it. And the next time that he wants your attention, which is actually sooner than you expect, and it becomes sort of a regular thing that he wants your attention.
Okay.
But what he's decided is the best way to get your attention is he will fly down from his perch on the mast overhead, over top of you, and poop on your head.
I knew it.
And then perch next to you, like on the railing or something.
So.
And every time he does, you can see him making like the same, even though like you haven't cast Speak with Animals yet, you can see him making like the same motions with his head as when he was laughing.
Every time he does that, I'm gonna try and like get the poop and like hit him with it, like slap him with it. Yeah.
It flies away. Does
Yeah.
circles around the ship.
Yeah. I'm gonna try that every time. Like,
Does Speak with Animals have a verbal component?
I don't know.
Because I wonder if the parrot starts saying that after a while.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah, the verbal component.
It says V and S, so verbal and somatic.
Yeah, so potentially over time, when he wants to talk to you, he might start like enchanting the verbal component for the Speak with Animals spell, because I really like that. But for now, his solution is to poop on your head and then perch on the railing next to you.
I can help you. Bet you do.
Wow, it's cheeky. Wow.
Either do you think you have anything else?
Just want to keep enchanting.
Okay. Mara, you get to a point when you're sailing and sort of regularly checking the compass, shooting off that light arrow to see if you're still heading in the right direction, where the arrow fires off.
I have one more.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I was asking them if they had anything instead of jump in.
Okay.
But Thaddeus does start writing from
Does he have like an idea?
Huh?
Does he have like a theme?
Oh, yeah.
Or just sort of.
Power of
It's,
suggestion.
It's called Falling from Grace into Love.
Oh.
It is the thinly fictionalized story of how Cadriel and Eli's mother fell in love.
oh.
Aww.
And he has chosen a pseudonym, which is Thomas Mindlin.
Sorry, what was it?
Thomas Mindlin.
That's awesome.
And he's writing it in the pages of this old
Sure.
tome.
Okay.
That's the only book he's got.
That's
I mean, it's a beautifully
Do
ornate
you tell
cover
any of
for
us
it.
that you're
No.
I mean, you guys start to see Thaddeus like taking time to himself, writing in a corner, but unless you ask him.
I am going to cast invisibility on myself and creep over and look over his shoulder to see what he's writing.
Yeah, I mean, you see him in the middle
Make a
of.
stealth check.
Yeah.
You get to make an advantage. But you do still have to get a passive perception.
Which
makes
is
it-
very
which
low.
is not hard.
What is his passive perception? 12? Yeah, okay.
It's only a 10.
Yeah, Thaddeus, as you're writing in your book, there's like a moment where you feel something brush up against you, and then you look up and you don't see anything there, and it clicks.
But I've been here long enough.
Yes.
And I like put the book down like Harmony, but
I just want to know what you're writing.
it's very boring.
I'm sure it's not. I saw the word boob in there.
I'm sure you did.
You did not.
Okay, but I did see something about beautiful eyes. And I just leave. I leave, but I try to sneak away so he thinks I'm still there.
Yeah, Thaddeus, I mean, like, you can see.
I think like he's like
It rained the night
Harmony?
before, and so there's actually like puddles
Harmony?
on the deck of the Kiss, and you can see like where her footfalls step into the puddles.
Like the smile from like the cat.
Yeah, her smile remains.
Smile.
I knew it was possible. That's why I made you do the check.
Oh, that's so funny.
Before we got on the ship, was I making progress training Pinky the rat? Was I trying to train him? I can't remember. Or was I just kind of trying to bond with him a little more? I don't know.
I think you were trying to train him. I don't remember what you were trying to teach him.
I want him to be able to pick pockets and help me.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you can roll another animal handling check.
Mara, the little
You're running out of
helper.
free time though.
These little helpers. Oh, it's only a 10.
10?
No, that's a 6, so it's a 7.
Sorry, that was 3.
You get to the point where like, if you put food in someone else's pocket, you can get him to like try and climb into their pocket, but he's not very sneaky about it. And like as soon as he gets close to them, he starts bombarding their minds with like the food, give me food.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to be working quite yet.
Okay.
I can't remember if I mentioned that before we.
The idea seems theoretically possible.
Okay, I'll keep trying.
Alright.
Actually, before we get to the point where Mara's arrows do something different, Harmony, it's been like almost at this point, probably a week and a half, 2 weeks almost, and you hear, or you feel that feeling of a sending spell connecting with your brain again. And then almost immediately after the spell connects, you hear the excited voice of Cial, and they say, well, Harmony, I've done it. I've got a way to come to you. Be in the kitchens around midnight tonight.
Okay.
And that's all the message. It just ends right there.
Oh boy!
Okay.
Yes!
Okay.
That's what I wanted. So long.
I don't tell anybody
You're a jerk.
about it because I scared her off.
I know,
Scared
but I
her off
talked to
last
her.
time.
You know, I talked to her.
Yeah, but like,
Them?
I don't tell anybody yet. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I just want to see what this is.
I'm so available for this.
I know. Right now. Did I show you the letter? I can't
letter
remember
for
if I
what?
showed you the letter or not.
Whose letter?
Then I haven't showed you the letter, so I'm not going to tell you.
The one
Read it
about
out, Red.
the one about them being
I had it
offended.
because I wanted to read it again. No. This was just the letter that they left in the book with the map to get to Elder Haven Ranches after they disappeared.
Can you remind me, because I don't remember.
Shall
what
I
this
read
is.
it for
Yeah,
everyone
sure,
so that we
Sure.
know? Because I don't think you guys ever. I don't think I ever read this to you because it was given to me in secret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Wait, is Harmony like in the event still?
no,
Okay.
I'm not telling y'all anything.
Okay.
But for the
Of course
viewers
Okay.
and for Ethan
Yeah.
to remember, and I was gonna reread it anyway to remind myself what the last thing. So see, I left this note inside the book that had the map to Kame Island in it, and it says, "Dear Harmony, let me just say I'm sorry I left the way I did, and for any trouble it may have caused you and your friends. However, I think you were right days ago when you said I ought to leave for my own safety. I'm sure someone of your lineage can understand my reasons. I hope that this does something to help you forgive me. Go get those sons of bitches, y'all." And then it says, "P.S. Don't think I've forgotten my deals with Mara and Hunter. We'll see each other again soon."
Yeah, and to rehash that, I think that Mara owed Cial money or a favor. Like, Cial was good to cash in for a favor, but I think you have enough money you could finish paying that off now. And Hunter, Cial was working.
They were
on-
enchanting some plates for me.
Right, but hadn't been paid yet.
But I brought the plates, and then I think we did those shenanigans. So it's not done, and
It might be
There.
done right now.
well, unless they have the stuff, so maybe they're done. But I never received anything.
Yeah,
So
and
Yeah.
Cial hadn't been paid yet.
business is complete.
Okay.
I
So
go into the kitchen.
night comes around, everyone else presumably goes to sleep, and Harmony sneaks to the kitchens of the Drowning Kiss. When you get into the kitchen, it's a small room. You've maybe had to use it a little bit to get the food rations that you had been provided into some sort of usable state. But it's small and there's not much to it. There's basically some cupboards which hold a few assorted pots and pans, and there's like a small area where you can sort of like light a fire and put a pot on top of it, basically.
When I get into the kitchen, I'm gonna like open all the cabinet doors and poke my head in to see if they're like doorway passages in
Yeah.
her special shop.
You get in a few minutes before midnight. You sort of poke your head into each of the cupboards, and nothing seems amiss in any of them.
I wish I saw that.
There's like a rat that scurries away.
Pinky?
It's not Pinky. It didn't have its brain cavity wasn't exposed. And you wait sort of an almost like tense few minutes, wondering how Cial is going to get to this position in the Drowning Kiss in the middle of the ocean. Before you hear from one of the upper cabinets, which you already poked your head into, you hear a creak as the door swings open a little bit, and then you see, as you turn around, there's like a soft glow coming from the cabinet, and a hand with like hot pink fingernails is reaching through the cabinet, and you hear a voice whisper, "Harmony! Harmony! Up here! Take my hand!"
Is there like a slimy fish or something around in one of the food barrels that I can put in her hand?
Sure. Yeah, and the hand grasps the slimy fish and pulls back out of sight, sort of like beyond the glowing barrier that's there. And you don't hear anything for a second, but then a hand reaches back out. You hear the voice say, "Seriously, Harmony. Seriously."
I'll grab her. I'll grab their hand.
And the hand, sort of with surprising strength, pulls you up off of your feet and into the cupboard, space which you wouldn't ordinarily be able to fit, but as soon as your head begins to enter it, it's as if space and time contorts, and you're constricted and able, and you're pulled through this cabinet and out of another cabinet in another room, which Cial then shuts and pushes a key into and turns it. And you sort of, while Cial is doing that, getting a glimpse at them, you see that the hair is today, for the most part, black, but it's got like, bangs coming down to the front, and the bangs are tinged with the same hot pink as the fingernails. Cial's robes are the same hot pink as well, but with like purple frills around the edge. Not frills, but like tassels and embroidery and things like that. Yeah, there's the word. And then the hair goes back into a long ponytail, which is also tinged at the bottom with hot pink. And you see sort of the back of Cial as they twist the key in the lock and then turn to you, flashing a toothy, fanged smile. And Cial says, "Well, welcome to the back room of my main shop."
Does it look familiar at all in here?
In here, it looks very similar to the back room of the shop in Northwood in terms of layout. Minus, there's no teleportation sigil on the floorboard here like there was back in the other one. And the shelves in here are much better stocked, with all kinds of gadgets and gizmos, some of which look familiar, like you've seen Cial have in their shop before, available for purchase, but others just completely bizarre and unfamiliar entirely. Cial then sort of gestures towards the door out of the back room and says, "I have some seating space out in the main room. The shop's closed for now, but I shouldn't stay closed for too long. It's bad for business, you know. But we could go and sit. I can make you some tea or whatever you like."
Which shop is this? Where are we? Where
well,
am I?
Perhaps it would be better if we stepped out into the main room. And as you step out into the main room, you see that there is like a full panel window like the Farandel shop had, that you can see through into a bustling street. But this street is bustling with not just humans, for the most part, like you would have seen in Farandel, but all manner of creatures. Like, as in the brief moments where you stand looking out the window, you see what looks to be maybe, there's like a man with the body of a horse that walks by. There is being wreathed entirely in fire, like it looks like a humanoid of some kind, but they're just covered in fire, and they walk by. Maybe it is like almost dwarf in stature, but covered in fire. There is a being that walks by side by side, so two beings that walk side by side past the window. One of them has big angelic wings that are sort of tucked along their back, and they're almost glowing with radiant light. And the other one has a visage that you would recognize from legends and tales in your tribe of like a chain devil. Just like this horrible devilish features, and they're walking side by side and chit-chatting as they walk by the window. And Cial sort of motions you to a table and chairs in sort of the showcase area of the shop, where a pot of tea is sitting on the table, and sort of pulls the seat out for you, and once you're sitting, takes the seat opposite of you so that you can sort of still see the window, and Cial's back is to that. And Cial says, "Well, this is Sigil, City of Doors. Don't know how much your knowledge of the multiverse is, but some say it is the very center of the multiverse, and in fact, it is a cultural hub of sorts. It's where I do my best business."
Yeah. good. I'm happy that you were able to find a place to thrive and be safe.
This was actually my very first shop, and it continues to constantly be my most successful. There's still sometimes various prejudices and things that come up here, but for the most part, you can be whoever you want. It's that kind of city. And certainly as you watch people walk by the doors, you see there's at one point where a large woolly foot steps in front of the window, and it must extend several feet up into the air. You can't see what it belongs to, and in one stride it's out of view again. So there's just all sorts of creatures that walk by this shop as you're sitting here. And once you're Cial can sort of see that you're getting used to that, they push the teacup towards you, and then taking one themselves, sort of nervously say, look, I had to go through quite a bit to get the key to the cupboard in the Drowning Kiss. Unfortunately, it's a rental. I won't be able to hold on to it for very long.
Where are you renting it from?
It's a long story. I had to cash in on several favors, but no bridges were burned, so that's good. The point is, our time is limited, and I just have to say I'm so sorry for the way that things went.
Well, I kind of barged in on you without knocking, so it's kind of my fault.
Right, but I should have known that seeing me that way wouldn't be enough to make you flee. And I admit
worse.
that. I was worried that you might tell Thaddeus.
I haven't.
And Cial sort of, you could see relief spread across
I think I
Cial's
told
face.
Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Hunter, but Hunter gets it.
Yeah, I of the four of you, I think probably everyone but Thaddeus would be understanding of what you saw.
Well, and I think Thaddeus is coming around. He even said that he even said that he'd be willing to put up with my imp friend without killing him on sight. So it's
Cial
progress.
raises an eyebrow, and as they do, you catch a shimmer of glitter in the eyebrows as well. And Cial says, "Sorry, you have an imp friend?"
Yeah, also a long story.
I'd like to hear it sometime, but like I said, limited time.
Yeah.
I just, when I've done business in Elendil before and have been found out, there have been bad experiences.
Look, I get it. You don't have to explain yourself to me. I understand.
It's fair.
I probably would have done the same thing if I were you.
Most of my kind are, they have a reputation for evil deeds that is well earned.
I get it.
What was that kind again? Or,
So Harmony saw,
It's like a fox type.
yeah, like a fox type creature, and the only reason you would know it to be fiendish was because you fought another one when it came barging into Cial's shop, and I'm drawing a blank on its name, but
Drax?
it was
The one
Drax,
who's
yes.
Yeah,
the
the abyss.
librarian.
The jackal.
Drax, who was the librarian in Helia Ironshield's tower.
Or Drix, I think actually was their name.
yeah, great.
Yeah, because Drax is starting.
Drax. Yeah, Drax is a
Sorry.
Marvel character.
Drix. Sorry.
Drax.
I
Yes, so it was some sort of fox-like fiendish creature. And Cial just says,
Look, I get it. Like, if any of my group is gonna get it, it's me.
I know, and that's why I reached out to you. Because you and your group are very valued customers of mine, and also I'd like to count you as friends. I don't have a ton of people I count as friends. But I'd like to think that over the time we've spent together, we could call ourselves such. But also because, and I've said this to your friends before, I never forget an agreement that has been made, and I made one with your friends.
Right.
Mara and Hunter both.
You mentioned that in your letter.
Yes. Mara owes me some money or a favor, but that's not pressing. As you can see, business is fine here. I'm not in dire need of that. But I did promise your friend Hunter some improved plates of sorts for his unique body, and I think that they're ready. So I was hoping you could deliver them to him.
Sure. I can.
And she produces from, they stand up. Yeah, the DM does it too.
It's the fingernails.
Yeah, it's just because Cial is so fabulous.
So fabulous.
Yeah.
They stand up and they go and from one of the shelves pull down they have to like roll a ladder over and climb up because it's on a higher shelf. But pull down a series of metal plates that are in a box that's maybe this big and this tall or something like that. There's quite a few plates in there that need to be put onto Hunter. But you notice as the box is pulled down, there's like no clanking. It's they're either really well packaged in there or there's magic of silencing on those plates because it is silent. And Cial sets the box on the table and says, now these plates won't make a sound. They won't clank together like other plates, like his current plating will. But it was a rather expensive enchantment. And we didn't talk price because we hadn't determined what it would take to enchant them, but factoring in the friends and family discount, and Cial, like, you can see that there's like a flash of like in the eyes, like Cial is A, trying to make a joke, and B, trying to cut the tension that they're feeling, like, because they still feel really bad. Factoring in the friend and family discount, it's still probably going to come to about 1,500 gold pieces.
Okay.
I managed to work it out so that these don't require any sort of arcane attunement. So it's just a static effect that will constantly be in place.
1,500?
Yes, but it was
I
a
reached
rather
into my
hefty
bag,
enchantment.
and I've got. Do you mind being paid in stuff instead of in gold?
You can see, like, Cial's taken by surprise as you propose that, and they say, to be honest, I wasn't expecting payment up front.
Well, but I have
but if
these.
you have,
And I have the silver and gold raven brooch that's worth 750 gold.
okay,
And I have orange circlet that's worth 750 gold.
perfect.
And I'm like, I have these. And I've been meaning to sell them anyway.
Yeah, Cial, like, pulls a pair of spectacles out and puts them on. And as they slide over Cial's eyes, the lenses sort of turn the same shade of hot pink. And they take a close look at them and sort of, from all angles inspect them. And after a few minutes, Cial says, gives like a nod and says, yes, I think that this is adequate payment.
And they're yours.
See no issue with this. So I will take these. And I'm already thinking of possible enchantments for them that I think would sell for a decent price.
Good.
And then you can take this. And they hand you the box.
Okay. I also while I have you, I have these. I take out like 2 of the skills that I got from Kitus.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bunch of these.
And Cial like takes one, turns it over in hand, and says, "Bronze dragon, interesting, but tinted with
Shadowfell.
interesting."
He was kind of reverted.
Hands it back to you.
I have 20 of them. What could you make with that?
Well, I'd have to toy around, but if there's latent shadow magic in there, potentially something very useful.
I take them all out of my bag and I put them on the table.
Yeah, Cial kind of shuffles them into a bottle.
You don't give that away to anyone else. That's for me.
Of course, of course. And Cial flashes the same toothy grin and says, "No, I would never do anything to slight a valued customer."
valued friend.
Of course. Friends can be customers too.
Yes, that's true. So see what you can make with that. Surprise me.
I must say, I'm excited the prospects that this presents. I've never worked with the scales of a shadow dragon before.
You want to see what I made?
Ah, that's right. You were learning a little bit. Sure. Let me have a look.
I'll show her the earring of whispers that I'm wearing.
Kind of turns it over in hand.
And I'll show her the ruby of sending that I made.
Same thing. Sort of turns it over in hand, looks at it, inspects it with the glasses, hands it back.
And I made a hat that you can use to disguise yourself with an illusion, but Hunter has it.
Well, it sounds like you've been very busy.
Yes, and then I pulled the ballet slippers. I'm trying to enchant these right now, but it's a really difficult spell because it's not one that I normally know how to.
Well, what are you trying to do with them? Perhaps I could give you some pointers before I have to return this key.
That would
and
be
see all
great.
waves the silver key.
So Thaddeus has this magic that his goddess gives him. It makes him go really fast. Like, you drink and I pulled up my cup of tea, 10 of these. Or maybe 20.
Like, as you're beginning to describe the spell, Cial
He moves
is nodding
so fast.
and sort of pulls from within the pockets of the pink robe a wand that is sort of at the tip decorated with a diamond that catches the light in like a rainbow spectrum. And begins to wave that and speak some verbal components, and you feel the same jittery effect take hold of you here in the
Yes!
shop.
Just like this!
I thought so.
Like, talking to her twice as fast.
This is a difficult
Chipmunk voice.
This is a difficult one to imbue into an object because it has to do with altering perception of time as well as overclocking the body's physical capabilities.
Yeah, it's
And
been
I'm not
tough.
surprised it's not taking on the simple pair of slippers like that. There's just
Is there something I can do to the slippers to make them...
there's just no
accept the
arcane
magic
focus to it. If you were to, for example, attach a gem of some sort,
Well, I do have these.
anything to conduct the magic.
Mara has a bunch of gems too. But I have
a lot of them away.
you
The fake ones.
the fake ones. No, but you got a bunch of real ones too, didn't you? No, I have 3 kind of 25 gold each gems. Would these do it, or would it need to be more than this?
Y'all inspects them one at a time and says, well, I mean, these would improve the likelihood that an enchantment will take, but
Not buying that. What about these?
they're
I
kind
took
of
out
cheap.
the shield clasps that I stole from Helios Tower.
You do better with the gems.
Okay. Put them away. I think Mara has more. What kind of quality of gem would be best?
Well, the purer the gem, the better. The better the cut as well. That will improve it. To put a monetary value on it, any gem that you have that is worth 500 gold pieces or greater would be an excellent focus for such a spell.
That's expensive. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
I do what I can. And perhaps if I'm able to secure a more permanent use of this key, I could give you more pointers in the future.
I mean, I think you'd be welcome anytime. Everyone misses you.
Cial flashes sort of a wary smile and says, I'm sure that at least 2 of them miss me.
Well, I mean, only one of them knows what you really are, and the other 2 don't. But all 3 of them do miss you.
Well,
Hunter,
maybe
I
if all
think,
things
tried
go
to
well.
contact you, didn't he?
He did, yes. I wasn't quite ready to come back, but it's speaking with Hunter that made me think it was about time that I made my apologies.
I would have contacted you myself, but I was going through a little bit of the same and having some trouble understanding what they were saying. But I could talk to his pet tiger just fine. That was a weird night.
I do recall the effects of your wild magic being rather interesting and unpredictable in that way.
Yeah. It was weird. But I like his tiger. Did you know he has a pet tiger now?
No, I didn't, but that's
It's like
excellent.
a spirit tiger.
The head cocks to the side and Cial says, well, I'd like to study that perhaps someday in the future if we can negotiate things with Thaddeus so that there wouldn't be any tension.
Do you want me to tell Thaddeus the truth about who you are?
I think at this point it would be better than dancing around the charade.
Okay.
And then you tell me how he reacts, and if he reacts well, perhaps we can, and the smile flashes again, get together again soon.
Well, like I said, if he's okay with my imp, who is definitely a lot more evil than you are, then I'm sure he'll be fine.
You see kind of like a twinkle in Cial's eyes, and they say, oh, who says that I don't have any evil in me?
I didn't say you didn't have evil. I have evil in me too, and he puts up with me just fine.
That's true. Well, in any case, as Cial begins to speak this sentence, there is a device on the counter that begins to whir quicker, and there's like a dinging sound, like a sound of a gong that plays out 4 or 5 times. And when it starts to ding, Cial looks you in the eye, and you can see almost like a little bit of sorrow in the eyes, which also seem to be like that hot pink. And Cial says, it's about time for me to return this key. Like I said, it was a really short-term loan.
I'm really wondering who you're loaning it from. That kind of bothers me a little bit.
Favors in this city trade hands frequently.
Okay.
And I had to cash in a fair few to get hold of this key. But it's not the extent of my favors that I own, so
Well,
I would not say that this will be the last time we chat.
good. I'll let you know what the rest of the group says.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing from you, Harmony, and as you sort of both begin to stand up.
Yeah, because I'll be waiting for that mystery item that you're making from you.
Of course. And we can talk about it more, perhaps as I get a clearer idea of what I'd be capable of. As the two of you stand, Cial kind of ushers you back to the back room where that cupboard is there, and shoves the key in the lock, turns it, and as the door opens, you can see the glowing portal is there again. And you turn to Cial for a second, and you can see that Cial is trying, like there's something Cial is thinking about saying. And after that moment passes, Cial just says, well, it was nice seeing you.
Thank you for reaching out. And hopefully it won't be as long before we see each other again.
I hope not. As I said, if you could extend my apologies to the rest of your group for leaving the way I did, I'd appreciate that.
I will.
And then Cial kind of puts the box of plates in your hands, and
Super heavy.
then pushes you head first
Oh my God.
into the portal, and you go tumbling.
I deserve that for the fish.
And as you hit the ground in the kitchen of the Drowning Kiss, the smelly fish comes flying out of the portal and lands on your head.
Oh. Yeah.
With
I
Platinum.
Yep.
like throw it back in the bin. Press
And
initiation.
as you sort of turn around to look back at the portal, the magic has faded, and it is a normal cupboard again. You can see pots and pans in there.
Cool. Alright. It's the middle of the night, so I'll take this box with me to bed, and I'll give it to Hunter the next day.
Okay. Cool. Well, the night goes and passes, fades into morning.
I'll like go knock on Hunter's door in the morning.
Come in.
Special delivery! I can't. Can you open the door, please?
Sure. And then I'll come get the door.
Ugh.
What? Why? How did we even get mail? Is there a?
Are you really asking that to me?
I don't even know.
Of all people?
Is Moloch in here or something?
No, open it.
Okay, opens it up. Like, what are these?
I believe that you ordered these a long time ago.
I'll like grab it and realize that they're silent yet. You did not.
I met with Cial last night. I'm still trying to figure out if it really happened or if it was just a dream.
Well,
it was the
obviously-
weirdest day. But I woke up and these were still next to my bed, so
Yeah,
I figured
you
it
got
had to have
something
been
here.
real.
Okay.
I'll tell you about what happened.
Yeah. Oh, That's great. I'm glad they finally
Sorry I
contacted
didn't tell you ahead of time. I just thought it might spook them
Well,
if I showed up with someone else.
Obviously, they only contacted you and they asked specifically, so.
But they did say that they want me to tell everyone about who they really are and why they've been gone. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you know Thaddeus said that he thinks that I can turn Moloch into a rising demon? Like a good demon? Or a good devil or whatever it is.
Has he been eating okay?
I don't know.
It was
I was
that
really
stew
surprised.
Maybe it's because of that comment about his hair.
Maybe. You know, I really didn't mean to say that. I don't know why I said that. I don't actually think that.
I thought about it once too.
Really? Oh, that's terrible.
It's okay, I don't have
Maybe
any.
I should offer to give him a haircut.
I have like moss, I'm like, well, I guess I have something.
But also a fabulous hat with a feather.
Yes, you do.
Oh yeah.
with bird poop on it.
No.
So I gave Ciel the 20 Kitus skills that I took from
yeah.
Kitus
Okay.
to see what they can make with that. So
Okay.
I hope that they'll be able to come visit us more regularly.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we should take time to tell everybody about it right now, today.
Yeah, that's what I was
Some-
thinking.
Yeah, we can go do that.
You gonna put your new plates
I
on?
am really excited.
I know.
So excited.
I know.
Okay. So yeah, okay, I'll help you in a second. I'm like,
Do you need help with that or?
No,
you
I
got
can do
it?
that.
Okay.
I can do it.
Should I give you some privacy?
Yeah.
I mean, none of you have seen Hunter without his plate.
I
I
know.
I'm like undressing.
I know.
Shuts the door. Shuts the door.
I can always sneak in.
No.
After you shut the door, Comico sitting in the corner says, "Would you like me to leave too?"
Sure.
Harmony, after the door has been closed, it opens again, and Comico just sort of like sidles out
Yeah. I'm like,
and says in common, "I leave too."
Shy boys.
few minutes.
Shy, such a shy
Shuts the
boy.
door.
Come on, Comico, let's get some breakfast.
And breakfast is the word she's learned. So, yeah, she goes off with you to get some breakfast.
And I'll doff and don. Whatever.
I mean, it takes you a long
It's
time.
like, I think it's like 10 minutes for plate or something like that.
It would be 10 minutes for plate, but like
But
your
mine-
process is more involved. It takes you like an hour or
You
two.
have to like
Oh man,
unscrew
maybe
them all.
I would ask for help.
Too late. We
Yeah,
already
I
left.
know. Like, I probably regret it. I'm like, gosh, I haven't taken these off in so long. I forgot what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, when you're taking them off and like pulling off the plates and revealing just like the wooden and more biological parts underneath.
Yeah.
I mean, like you notice like more and more of your body than you thought is covered with this moss. That's
Mhm.
A. But also B, like you're starting to have like in one place near your chest, like there are some like bugs that crawl out. Like you have things living on you that you should probably get rid of.
Yeah.
They don't look like dangerous bugs or anything like that, but you have an ecosystem going on.
Yeah. I need to do this with this inspection more often.
Nightmares again.
So like, oh no, this is not good. I will
This
try.
is like the
I'll try.
Warforged equivalent. Oh, there's a bird nesting in my beard.
Yeah. So I'll try my best to take care of it, and if I'm unsuccessful, then
You can always.
I'm probably gonna ask for help.
No, you're able to take care of yourself. That's
Okay.
no problem.
That's so
Should I
funny.
send Pinky then?
No, Pinky doesn't help anybody.
You can
right
always,
now.
yeah, we're probably close enough that you
Bugs.
could use your earring to message one of us without
Yeah.
having to leave the room.
No, I probably can just try and take care of myself, and then I'll ask later for something big. Yeah, that's a bad idea.
That's so funny.
Okay,
Oh, that's so funny.
so I deal with it
Put on
excitedly.
And yeah, as you begin to walk around with the new plates, no more clanking.
Oh my gosh!
So
He's
your
gonna
stealth
sneak
checks
up
are
on
no
us.
longer at disadvantage.
Yes,
It's gonna sneak up on all of us.
that's
Yeah.
so good. I will. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. Is I'm gonna try and sneak up on the group.
Make a stealth
I
check!
mean, yeah, make a stealth check.
Holy
I
shit!
got a 21.
21. I mean, yeah.
That beats my passive.
The only person you
Am
might
I?
hold on, you might not catch Comico unawares. No, you do.
Yeah. So I like sneak up on everybody.
Sort of quietly open
Yeah.
the door. Everyone's backs are turned. They're like in the kitchen preparing food. You sneak into that door.
Yeah. I
And
sneak
then-
in, and I just like put my head in between like Harmony and whoever's next to Harmony. Maybe it's like Kamiko or something. And I just like slowly bring my head in here.
Hunter! Although I knew they were quiet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, it's a new plate.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for bringing them. This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I've known these for a long time.
That's so awesome.
It's kind of weird.
Have you told us what happened?
Not yet. I was waiting for Hunter.
Now it's pretty obvious. I'm being told.
I know. Yeah.
What happened, gosh?
Shenanigans. And lots of oil.
Yeah, did
What?
you discover a new kind of,
Grease.
yeah. Somewhere on the
Squeakless
ship,
grease.
are you manufacturing your own under there?
Self-lubricating.
This is not table talk.
A grease made exclusively of like
This is not table
concoction of
talk.
bug guts.
Yeah.
Fungus.
Anyways.
Greasy bread and gopher guts.
Yeah, so I had kind of a weird experience last night, but long and the short of it is, CL contacted me and I met with them.
Oh, wonderful.
They finally finished Hunter's new plate and wanted to deliver those, and also apologize for disappearing on us and being radio silent for so long.
Are they doing well?
Yeah, I got to see their shop in Sigil.
Yeah, where?
Sigil?
Sickle.
Sickle.
Sigil? Sigil?
Sigil. I learned it's pronounced sigil, though it's spelled sigil, to confuse people who aren't from the Outer Planes, so that they're more easily identifiable.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sigil.
Stupid clueless.
I got to see their new shop, which is in Sigil, which is apparently like the center of the multiverse. It was weird. There were a bunch of crazy walking things. There was one person that had a really big one.
Sounds like you had quite a night.
It was weird. I still don't think it was really, I mean, but the plate armor is here. So it must have actually happened.
I think
Is
so.
y'all not from here?
Yeah, so that's the thing. They asked me to kind of tell you why they disappeared suddenly.
Yeah, because I still owe money. Did you pay my debt? Do
No,
owe you
but I
money?
did pay you for your plate.
Oh, thanks.
Ciel said that they're not really hurting for cash right now, so don't worry about it. They'll cash in on their favor later. But yeah, what did I don't remember what I told you guys when they disappeared, or if I told you anything.
It seemed like it had happened before. Even Seattle had crossed paths and then uncrossed. I assumed it was just one of the uncrossings.
Well, it was really chaotic.
It was a
wasn't
little
it?
bit more than that, but
Ravaged the
yeah, the
city.
Warforged kind of showed up and attacked, and so I ran into the shop and went up to get them, to tell them the Warforged were here, and I barged into their bedroom and saw them in their true form, which is not a humanoid person, but actually some kind of a fiend that looks like a fox or something.
Can I roll to see if I
You can recall fighting a fiend that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like a fox in Ciel's shop.
Similar to the thing we fought, but not exactly the same. And they were, freaked out that I discovered their true identity, and so they fled, especially because they thought that Thaddeus would kill them right on the spot, which is probably true.
At the time. He's come a long way, baby.
I think that is his face is just gone pale. And he's like not looking at you in the eye and he's thinking very carefully to himself.
So they wanted me to come and explain that's why they've been gone, because, that type of fiend has a bad reputation in our part of the world, and they didn't want.
Most fiends do. Just
I
saying.
mean, but that's a generalization. You can't just judge a fiend before you get to know them.
Isn't that his job description?
I don't know.
Fix the salt barrier.
I will say that is not true. You can judge fiends before you get to know them. But I have gotten to know Cial.
Ciel's fine.
I do know
maybe
Cial's.
Cial has a little bit of a mischievous streak, but they have always been very straightforward and honest in their business dealings with us.
It did make the right enemies, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we saved them from being murdered in the capital. And we helped them. And I think that they feel like we are something close to friends to them and not just customers. So I trust them.
Has Cial ever asked us for anything in return for all the stuff that we've done?
I mean, the entire thing where you entered Helia Ironshield's tower was
Cial's quest.
Yeah, as a favor to Cial.
Okay.
Um,
that is just like thinking back, trying to figure out how transactional their relationship with Cial has been.
I mean, when it came to like business and purchasing magic items and things like that, it very much was.
Yeah, that's the side.
But like, Cial let you stay in their magnificent mansion for like a week at a time when you didn't want to stay at the Hammerlock estate, and there was never any terms associated with that or a cost that was for that. That seemed to be out of either some interest of Cial's or like out of kindness. One of the two.
It's all non-contractual.
Yeah.
Okay. So well.
And they did seem to be rather concerned about the safety of the mages in the capital. Not just Helia, but Leah and the others.
I always feel a great debt because he's the one that brought them to you guys.
That's true.
I will say that I appreciate their honesty and yours, and I'll leave it at that.
What about any future interactions with Cial? Would it be something that you'd be against, or would you be willing to accept their help in the future if, say, they were to open up a door to their shop in our kitchen?
I'd consider it.
I think that's a step in the right direction.
More than you would have gotten a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, this doesn't bother you, does it, Mara?
My ship is his portal.
I mean, how cool
Order
would that
at
be
a
if we
store.
could just go
Ha!
down to the kitchen, open a cabinet, and
like
order like a magic item?
Magic salt. Magic milk.
You're the only one of us, I think, who still feels the need for more and more magical items.
I mean, magical items are really cool. But also any help that we might need. They can identify objects for us that we find. They have lots of knowledge
I'm covered in holding.
the way stuff works.
That sounds great. I wish I had that in my house.
I know, right?
Mac and cheese.
You know, I think that as much as I like Cial personally, I spend a lot of time with them. They've taught me a lot about magic. I do think that it would be a beneficial relationship for us too on a selfish level. But you don't have to make up your mind right now. Think it over. You know, just muse. Let yourself become okay with that idea. And we'll talk about it again later.
All right.
Hunter sneaks out in the kitchen.
I go back to my bed.
Where did he go?
Yeah, it's disorienting because you can't track him anymore.
I know, with that disguise hat.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the possibility.
It's perfect.
You're welcome.
Yes.
So, about maybe a day later, you get to a point, sort of near the break of dawn, where Mara, you're doing a regular check to see where the arrow will fire. And you fire.
Oh.
Yes. It's gotta be quick.
No, can I ask Mara for some
Sure.
for some gems
I was going
for
to
my
tell
ballet
you,
slippers?
I wrote down that we got a pouch of gems, each
Oh, I know.
worth 1,000 gold, but it didn't say what the specific gems
Each
were. If you need
gem
a specific
Was
one.
1,000
Yes,
gold each?
But
each
it
gem
didn't
was
say
1,000 gold.
how many were in the pouch.
He,
I did say how many were in
He
the
did.
pouch.
I didn't write it down.
I-
Was it worth? Was the whole
It was
pouch
from-
worth?
I wrote him down.
And then after a
These
little
were the
bit
ones
later,
you found in Alkeen's castle?
Five gems, each worth 1,000.
5. Okay, I just wrote down pouch. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I have one?
Well, I'll put them out to you.
Which
so
one
that
do you
can
think goes with
discern.
the slippers better?
When you need one per slipper,
Well, I was wondering if I could maybe split one in half and put one on each.
are you a jeweler?
No. Okay, I'll take two.
That's so much.
Well,
It is a lot. Do you mind?
I have a 500 gold gem. One.
Only one?
It looks like it.
Do you have any gems?
I don't have anything. Wait, well, maybe I do. I know I do have a gem, but I'm not.
Okay.
So the shield.
No,
Those
it's-
gems are for Revivify.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine.
Well, no, that and also I have one that Nasri gave me, which I'm just like.
Yeah, that one's
for,
I have that one too.
for
I
sentimental
called it-
reasons.
I called it
which is
Nas.
why I'm not giving it to you. Not
Nas
because
gem.
Nas
No,
gem.
no. You don't hate me.
just because I want to have a souvenir of Africa.
Yeah, well, Hunter, you do owe me 1,500 gold because I paid for your armor for you.
Okay.
Are you gonna take them or not?
Well, here's this one.
We'll take his 500 gem and I'll take one of your
So I'll
1,000.
cross this out.
That'd be odd.
Yeah,
No, not even. Just take two.
Okay, I'll
Just
give
take
you
two.
Hunter's 500 and I'll take 2,000.
Good trade.
It's
So-
worth it, I promise.
Mara now
Okay,
has
so
three
now I have
1,000
three
gems.
1,000
And one 500 from Hunter.
Okay.
And I took two of the 1,000s and I'll fasten them to the ballet slippers somehow.
Sure.
There's a
Yeah.
way.
I mean,
Sovereign glue.
I was about to say you have sovereign.
Yes!
Glue.
How big are they, the gems?
The gems? I mean, you don't often see gems that are like bigger than that. So.
Okay, so I can put
They're
like
not
one on
large.
each, on the toe of each ballet slipper with the sovereign glue.
No, nothing glue.
I just use a little
That
dab
would
of
just
it.
take it down.
Yeah,
a bit.
I'm not
Alright,
gonna use the
alright.
whole thing.
So that's the first use of the sovereign
I
glue.
know, it's a great thing.
someone's got to eventually.
Fine.
That's impressed. So then I'll put a little dab of sovereign glue on both and I'll fasten the gems to the ballet
Yeah.
slippers. And then I'll try to enchant them with the gems on
Yeah,
it.
weird.
Unfortunately, there's no more time for enchanting things, but you can try again next rest or something like that. But as dawn comes around and
Oh, is she here?
the morning dawn comes around, sun is beginning to rise. Mara, you pull out the bow, string it with the light, sort of get your last check in before the morning light comes up. Because when the sun is up, it's kind of hard to see the arrow streak across the sky sometimes. And you launch the arrow off into the horizon, and this time instead of going up, it arcs, and it curves up a little bit, and then back downward, and plunges down into the water, maybe 300 feet ahead of you. And as you sort of bring the ship to that point, and if you fire the arrow again, it arcs briefly straight up, and then fires again straight down into the water. And you can watch for maybe a few feet as the bolt of light disappears down into the depths. But then it disappears into darkness.
And you said it's just becoming light.
Mm-hmm.
Guess it's gonna be fun to put on my feet again.
The only way to get past the fog is to go underwater.
You saw it? Did you see where the arrow went? Yeah, we're gonna get wet.
I can change into
Should
like
we drop
a shark
anchor?
or something.
Oh yeah.
You drop the anchor down here, and it starts beginning to disappear down into the depths of the water as well.
Do we see that like ominous fog in front of us at all? Nothing that I've seen before now.
You've been traveling northeast for the most part.
Yeah.
And the fog probably would have been due east from where you were.
Okay. So we don't see the fog wall.
We kind of went around it.
As you're dropping the anchor and sort of bringing down the sails and things like that, the water around the boat, maybe a few hundred feet away from the boat, begins to boil and bubble.
Oh god.
And you watch as slowly, ever so slowly, maybe a couple miles off in the distance, a land feature begins to emerge from the water. It's small at first, and yes, exactly. The bird sees this happening and begins to shout, "Land ho! Land ho! Land ho!" Incessantly as this rock begins to rise out of the dark depths below. slowly but unstoppingly. And until this point that started out several miles away is emerging out from the water and forms a massive black dome of sorts. It looks like it's made of rock or some other rough-hewn material. And it continues to rise up out of the water, and it seems to be like, since it's a dome, getting ever closer to you as it rises up. And then just before the dome seems like it would be about to smack into the Drowning Kiss, you can see the edge of it kind of tapers off, so it stops sloping, and it continues to rise up. Now standing miles above you, you can just see this massive black thing obscuring the sky entirely. Like the sun that was rising behind it is completely dwarfed out. And coming to your level out of the water is what looks to be an archway, just rising slowly from the tip of it up, 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 until there is a cavern of sorts that you could sail the Drowning Kiss into.
I thought we were gonna be on top of another mountain there for a minute.
I thought when you said archway rising up, it was like a head rising up. Like, oh.
I was like, and it's a giant turtle.
Yeah.
A dragon turtle.
And I think that's where we'll end tonight's episode.
All right.
Okay.
And we'll pick up there next week. Thank you to anyone who tuned in to watch. Next week we'll pick up with whatever is on the inside of this tunnel. It should be getting really exciting from here.
It was already so exciting.
I think today was a fun episode with all the role play and getting to see all the good stuff. So thank you for watching. We hope to see you again next time. We'll be back 7 p.m. Pacific time on Mondays. Yeah, hope to see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.
I know.